and emotions tonight. Tonight is also a very special night for Risk because the story I'm about to tell is being taped by the most incredible, sophisticated iPhone that money can buy to be shown in Brisbane, Australia. So we are going to transport ourselves from Los Angeles and go to Australia for like the next 10 or 12 minutes. Is that okay with everybody? Okay, so here we go. Let's have a huge round of applause as we go to So What's Your Story in Brisbane, Australia?
Testing. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, how are we doing today? Yeah. It's so hilarious because we've had 3 shows today. This is the 3rd show. And the first 2 shows, I kept saying, how are we going tonight? And this time I've said, how you doing today? So I am getting completely mindfucked right now. So it's night, right? It's night? I love it. Okay, cool. Who has been to a So What's Your Story live show before? I love it. And who is here for the first time? That is equally as awesome. Cool. Now, let me tell you a little bit about what to expect from a night like this. A night that you guys probably haven't bared witness to in the past. And here it goes. I started So What's Your Story in 2015 with the intention of it being literally nothing more than me getting close family members and friends up on a crappy little stage in a room that was like 1/8 this size, if that, to share true stories about their lives to audience members who were also my family and friends, because start off, right? And what I found, and what a lot of other people found, was that it fucking helped. And also, I'm gonna swear, as is a whole bunch of other people, because we pride ourselves here on telling true stories that don't water down the human emotion. We are going to be telling true stories that really stay true to the notion of being open, honest, and unadulterated. Stories that instead of politically correcting, we take a step back, we pull off that mask, and we take a deep breath and really get up here and share the essence of who we are, or at least what we think the essence of who we are is. And I think that's something that doesn't really happen very much here in Australia, let alone in Brisbane. So me and the 5 other members of the So What's Your Story team are very, very, very happy with the show that we are putting on for you tonight. And more importantly, the storytellers who are getting up here, taking a step back, pulling that mask off and bearing their soul in front of people who, for the most part, they have never met. So, I am going to ask one simple question before I play a little video. And that question is this, and I need you to really answer I've had to repeat myself at the last 2 shows, and I need you guys to answer really loudly, okay? Are you ready? Yeah! I'm not going to ask people to repeat themselves this time. I love it. So, I'm going to play a video, and it's going to give you a little indication as to the first person who is brave enough to get up on stage today and share their story. Are we all ready for this? Yeah.
Development of the cancer was pretty extensive, and I don't think any of them thought James was going to live.
I had nuclear radiation 3 times a day, every day, for about 3 months. I spent most of my childhood in a ward.
And where down we go, go, go,
I must admit I was somewhat surprised when he said he was actually going to go and be a wrestler.
and where down we go.
I think he's a great inspiration to people out there that really want to make something out of their life. The guy's 4-stone ring and whack.
This is exactly what I am. I've just overcome so much, and there's still so much to do in my life. What's to say I can't go out there and be the best thing I can be?
Ladies and gentlemen, can we please welcome to the stage James Fraser Smith, also known as Flashman.
How you guys doing? How do you follow that? It's my video. I've known Sam since 2008, and as much as that video was a wrestling video, and I'm sure you can see that towards the end there was some patterns on the wall that look very similar to the ones that were here. Because I wrestle in this environment, in this building. I've known Sam pretty much when I started doing this journey in 2008. And only a week or so ago did Sam ask me to come and do this story. To tell you guys straight off the bat, I don't have a problem speaking in front of people. That's never been an issue for me ever. There's always been that tale of how people are more concerned about public speaking than they are being in the coffin, that they fear public speaking over death, which I find crazy. What does shake me up and what does make me want to be in the coffin is the fact that I'm not the Flashman persona, I'm not anything in these photos right now, I'm me. And that for me is the most realistic and scariest performance of my life, and I've been wrestling now for almost 10 years. So to share with you the story of how I came to be all 4'9" of me is a don't laugh. Intermission's gonna be fun for you. Never allowed back here again. And I want to take you on the journey of how I came to be, if everyone here is okay with that. Cool. So, once upon a time, obviously I was born, I wasn't summoned, I wasn't conjured, but straight off the bat, I didn't have the homegrown mum and dad family environment. As my dad once put to me as sort of an awkward joke as I'm heading into my final exam at university in 2012. He liked to say to me, "Well, didn't plan that. You're just a product of a one-night stand, so yep, you're a bastard." So, growing up, I never had the homegrown mum and dad at the table, having dinner, talking about homework. I never had any of that. By the way, can you guys hear me if I talk here, or do you want the mic to be a bit closer, just so I... Closer? Is that sweet? Too close? Here? Is that good? Okay, cool. Is that better? Cool. So I wasn't a part of the whole family dynamic and the whole family environment, and it was very, very rough throughout my childhood. Not because I didn't specifically have a family, mum and dad sitting at the dinner table together, but because when I was 2 years old, my mother had this vision of me at a childcare centre, and I was wearing a white singlet with blue shorts, and I was crying. And I would not stop crying. And she could picture the walls, much like the walls are here. She could picture the environment. She could picture everything in her mind. And it was bizarre because she'd never seen that building or the people around me ever in her life. Fast forward to me being in daycare at 2 years old because Dad wasn't around. Like I said, he was around, but he wasn't at home, if you understand what I mean by that. I live with Mum. And here I am at 2 years old in a daycare centre, and I'm crying. And she turns up, and everything in her vision was exactly how she pictured it. And the staff at the daycare centre couldn't work out why. Couldn't work out why I was constantly crying, why I wouldn't, shut the fuck up. So eventually they just said, look, we're going to have to take him to hospital, but he's been crying non-stop for 6 hours. Now, 6 hours is a long, long time. I know people here work 8-hour jobs, and I want to go home. 6 hours crying non-stop at a daycare. You got other kids there playing with blocks going, what the fuck's this guy's problem? Making Play-Doh walls, trying to block me out. They took me up to the hospital. I was admitted in, I think it was like 60 minutes or less. It sounds like a car deal, but 60 minutes or less. And they diagnosed me with stage 4A neuroblastoma cancer at 2 years old. I don't know if anyone here has been affected by someone in their family or in their friendships or personally by cancer. Cool. Not cool, but thanks for playing along. If you could imagine me being the size of a 2-year-old, so let's say, roughly that, give or take. The cancer started on my left kidney, and it broke out of its own tumour sac, wrapped around my kidney, spread across my gut, up into my ribs, and I only found this out recently, and this is something that I'm sharing publicly for the first time, is that it started progressing down towards my knee. Now you have to imagine a 2-year-old with the size of that in them. That's crazy, that's messed up. It's bizarre to even fathom, and it's very bizarre to even share with you guys because I can't really remember going through it. I have photos and I have documentations. As you saw in the video, there's x-rays, there's everything of me going through it. But I can't remember a single thing of the entire process. I mean, sometimes you have blurred visions or sometimes you have memories that sort of come back to you in the middle of the night, but it was such a bizarre time and such a heavy time that there is no way really to sort of fathom it. And even now telling you guys, I still think it's so strange and such a peculiar occurrence to happen to both myself and my family. And this is back in 91, and as we all can attest, medical procedures and operations have come leaps and bounds since 91. We were told back then that the remedy and the procedure for dealing with childhood cancer was, I'll break it down because it's dramatic, but this is the way they spoke to us. Okay, so Monday, they give you the treatment Monday, yeah? By Wednesday, you're fighting fit. You're running around the ward, you're on a bike, you're eating food, everything's going great. Wow, what a recovery. 48 hours and you'll seemingly have beaten cancer. That's insane. Who would have thought that, right? Thursday, the doctors come in, they review your file. White blood cell count has gone down, red blood cell count has gone up. Oh, it seems like your body's fighting it. It seems like it's a positive thing that's happening, yeah? Like if you got that, you'd think, oh, I'm beating it. This is fantastic. This young adolescent is defeating cancer within a week. That's, I just want to get a consensus. That's unheard of, yeah? Friday morning, gone. That's it. Done. Administered on Monday, Thursday, jumping around eating, Friday morning. Nothing. Didn't wake up. That's it. Quietly in your sleep, gone. They proceeded to tell us that, obviously, this treatment wasn't working, and kids were dropping like flies. That is the most simplistic sentence to that description that I can give. Kids were dropping like flies. I lost a lot of friends throughout this time, and it sucks. You'll see in this photo behind me, well, I'll try and show you. You'll see 3 of us in firefighter outfit at Camp Quality, which is a camp designed for children that are going through medical disabilities. I put that photo up there because I miss them and I love them every day, and they're no longer here, and there's the 3 of us. They gave us a treatment that had 30% survival rate. 30 is better than 0, right? As the video that you guys, yep, that's them. That's Jacob and that's Mark, and here I am. I wish they were here, I really do. Sorry. So they gave us 30%, which is a nice top up from 0. Everyone here's got a smartphone and knows how painful 0% is compared to 30, so it's better than nothing. And they gave me nuclear radiation 3 times every day for 3 months. So at the same time having breakfast, lunch and dinner, I'm essentially being put in a microwave and being radiated on. And that sucked. A lot of cancer treatment relies on bone marrow transplant, which, to break it down for people that haven't experienced that, essentially inside your bone is marrow. They take it out and they transplant it with someone else's, because when they nuclear radiate you, things get pretty much destroyed. For me, they took my marrow out, cleaned it. When it got radiated on, when I came back, they put it back in 3 times a day, every day, for 3 months. And I'm 2 years old. Like I said, I don't remember going through any of it. There's photos, there's documents, there's everything. I like to consider it a blessing in disguise, because I feel like if I remembered it, I don't know if I'd have the confidence to come and share that with each and every one of you. So, by the time I'm 5, I'm now supposedly in the clear. I'm okay. You know, I wasn't in there the entire time. It was a remission phase. You know, they sort of wanted to keep an eye on me, make sure everything was going okay. And by the time I'm 5, I can now finally start my childhood. 5 years in debt. That's 5 years of my life I have to make up. So going through the public school system, growing up to grade 7, because I came from Sydney, doing that whole process was simple. You know, guys were roughly the same size as me, usually about grade 7, grade 8. The growth spurt happens. So that was never an issue. You know, I'd rollerblade with people, I'd grow, and I'd share the same experiences with each and every other single person, and it was fine, and it was good, and nothing came about that sort of set off warning signals that something was wrong. Because, like I said, with each and every one of you, I never knew anything was wrong. This is what I am, this is what everything is working, to the best of my knowledge. And I didn't ever feel like anything was wrong. Because, you know, you're a young kid, you don't think, oh, anything's wrong with me, I'm just shorter than people. I never could fully understand the parameters of what actually I'd just been through. Come grade 7, it starts getting a bit difficult. For 2 reasons. One, I moved. So everyone that I started on this sort of school journey with, and we, you know, when you're young kids, you're sort of like, oh, we're going to be friends forever. See ya. I just moved. I just left. You know, as far as I'm aware, they probably thought I died or something. You know, I just dramatically left. Like I didn't stay in the same area. I didn't switch schools. I left like the entire 6, 7 suburbs away. So I started high school up there, and it was real difficult because obviously going through high school and being a teenager, you experience different things, and because of the implications and because of everything I'd been through, I wasn't experiencing the same things. To break it down, I wasn't growing. And we all know in high school everything changes. I wasn't changing. I wasn't growing. I was tired all the time, and I couldn't understand why. So now we decide to make the move up to Queensland, up to where we are now. So not only have I left the public school, left all my childhood friends, I've now left my high school, and I've got to seemingly start again. The thing that made it more difficult was the fact that when I moved up here, I had finished grade 7 and I'd made the transition into grade 8. When I came up here, they said that grade 8 is grade 9. Okay, that's a thing, all right. So I want to break it down real easy for you guys. So my last science class in grade 7 was cutting out pictures of animals and sticking them into a book. That's science. I got up here to grade 9. I'm learning the scientific table. Talk about opposite ends of the spectrum. I got asked by my grade 9 science teacher, so what did you learn in science last week when you were in Sydney? I know what a platypus is. Just no hope. Just, okay, he's the special one. What's gravity? My animal has a bill. Luckily, I passed. Sort of. I think they bumped up my grade because I thought I was special. The thing that then, you know, you get used to it, you know, you get friends, and this is where the whole concept of wrestling became a thing. I'd always been interested in it. I always watched it as a kid, and I thought, the first time I ever saw it, I saw 2 grown men in what I thought was a boxing ring, and a grown man hit another man over the back of the head with a chair, and there's 50,000 people who think this is the greatest thing they've ever seen in their life. And there's me going, is this a police riot? Should someone call someone? Why is this man cheering the fact that someone just hurt another person? I couldn't grasp the concept of pro wrestling. I was about 7 years old. Fast forward to high school, and I'd met someone that was also a wrestling fan, and that was my first friend up here. The bit that sucked was that at the end of grade 9, my parents had a meeting with the school, and they told them I was special. No, they told them that they'd made a mistake. That they shouldn't have put me up to grade 9, that I should have done grade 8, and I was forced to repeat grade 9 again. So the whole concept, to clarify, I didn't fail. That hurt. It was because of their error. So now I've seen all my friends transition over into senior year, and I'm a big advocate for devil in the detail, like the little things mean the most, you know what I mean? Like those little details really draw you in. Juniors had a blue tie, seniors had a red tie. Most crushing moment that I've ever experienced so far, during a high school environment I should say, is arriving at the start of the year and seeing everyone that I'd just come to know for that last year were in red ties, blue tie. And not only were they not in the same area where you put your bags, they were in like a completely separate department. Okay, this was like seniors only, you know. This is like boys and girls bathroom, you know what I mean? Like you can't go over there, you don't have a red tie. But, no, I'm sorry. Red or no red. So, you know, what do you do? You know, what do you do? You can't really be sitting at lunchtime with a bunch of red ties and hey, no. So again, that whole circle, that friendship was gone, and I had to start again. And there we were building it back up, building it back up, get to graduation, everything's fine, everything's going great. Heading into graduation, class of '07. What the hell do I do with my life? I can't wrestle. I don't think they'd approve of me. I can't do public speaking. I'm afraid of my own dad. I can't physically do anything too much because I have the body of a 12-year-old and I'm now 18. I was angry for a long, long time. This was when MySpace was the thing, you know, the whole Tom profile thing. Like, you know, that weird photo where, you know, he's in my top 8, you know, whatever. Remember when top 8 was a thing? Like, if you were in the top 8, you were sort of second-guessing that friendship, you know what I mean? Like, well, if you put me 7th, you can't come to my party. Okay. Jog on. This is when MySpace was a thing. So I did the whole black hair thing, you know, I did the whole lip piercing, that whole, because I didn't get it. I was angry at the fact that I was understanding what I went through, and I felt completely ripped off by the entire process. The concept, why me, had never been more painfully accurate in my life. And I'll tell you what got me through it. I sat in my front yard and I stared at the sky for 2 hours. I didn't time it, obviously, like, and 2 hours? No, I just sat and I finally accepted the fact that, hey, this is exactly who and what I am, and I have to make the best of it. And I have to start appreciating that I'm alive. Because, as you saw in those photos, as I'm telling you right now, I am the only one out of my ward to walk out alive. Everybody else passed away. So when I go back down to Sydney Randwick Hospital, when I go back down and see the doctors that were just your average doctors who are now running the entire hospital, they give me this superstar treatment. And it doesn't go to my brain, it doesn't go to my ego, because I don't understand going through it. So for me it's like, yeah, how you going? Oh, nice to see you. What's happening? Because I don't remember going through it, but these guys treat me like a goddamn rock star. And I started to appreciate the fact that, why do they do this? Why me? Again, why me? But this time it's from the opposite end of the spectrum. Why are they appreciating everything? Why are they going out of their way to do this for me? And I realized, and it dawned on me, that I am the only one during this time to still be standing physically in front of them and being, hello, how are you? And that is a heavy burden to carry. As much as it's a good thing, it's a very, very heavy burden to carry, because now I have the responsibility of my friends, past and present, to now carry on the fact that, hey, it's okay, you can make it, and let's just do the best that we can. And it was hard for a long, long time, and I could never very understand it. So when I finally accepted who and what I am, I tried to look at avenues where, what can I do to change this persona, to change this aspect of someone that's gone through this terrible, terrible start to their life. But the last thing I want is I don't want people to ever go through that experience. I want people to be happy. I want to make memories for people. I want to make a legacy for people. I want people to enjoy life, to embrace whatever they're going through, to escape the rigmarole of their 9 to 5, to escape the fact that they got rent due, or they're going through a breakup, or they got bills to pay, or life sucks. What can I do that can make them escape for a certain amount of time, and I can take them on some sort of journey, some sort of adventure, some sort of trivial pursuit, if you would, to make them just forget about everything and just enjoy it. This is where the concept of pro wrestling was born for me. As I mentioned prior, the first ever friend I had when I came up here was in part due to pro wrestling. By the time I graduated, and he'd obviously graduated 2 years before, he rang me up one day and said, hey man, wrestling's happening on the Gold Coast. Now, when you hear that, you expect the big time WWE, yeah? You expect like Undertaker, all those kind of guys. And I said, no, it's not. That's bizarre. That's not a thing. That doesn't happen down here. He said, no, it's this other one. You know, it's this federation down at Nerang. And I went along, and sure enough, there is my best friend in high school wrestling in a ring. And it's bizarre because we'd spoken about it for so long and we thought about this concept being so grand and so like extreme, like, oh, imagine if we ever did it, how funny would that be? He's doing it, and I wasn't a part of it, but we'd always spoken about it, and I needed to be a part of that journey. So 2008, the very next week after I saw my friend perform, I said to him, look man, if I don't, it was one of those Hollywood moments, you know what I mean, where it's like, I have to see this opportunity right now, otherwise I'll never do it, you know what I mean? Like it's those things where you look back on and go, oh, if only I did it, oh, if only I said. It was one of those moments where like, if I don't do this now, this is never ever gonna happen again. And I seized that opportunity, and I had, the very next week, I wore the exact same clothes that I wore to the show, just so they'd remember me. So looking back on it now, it's probably the stupidest thing I've ever done, because probably from show to training day, it looked like I didn't shower, you know what I mean? I stayed in the same clothes, like, I'm never washing again. So I turn up, and the promoter, you know, he looks at me, like many of you are looking at me now, and sort of went, you wrestle kind of thing, and you're a fan of the business? Okay, what's this short guy going to do in this amount of time? I had one training session, and this was now almost 10 years ago, and he said to me, yep, I like what you're doing, we have a show in 2 weeks, you're a manager, you're managing your mate from high school. Sure thing. And so began, as of, what are we, June? Yeah. As of 2 months from now, so began my 9-year journey in professional wrestling. And it was very hard at first, obviously, being the size that I am, and you expect bodybuilders and things like that. But I've had opportunities where I've been able to train people, I've been able to run schools, I've been able to work in television, in radio, I've been able to create stories, I've been able to create moments. I create moments here every month, right on the stage where I am right now, in the Globe, talking to each and every one of you. It's not 18 plus, so I'm not going to swear at you, but it's the same type of environment. I interact and we create stories, we create moments, and it's good fun. And the one thing that conquers it all is that I can finally create that moment that I so strived for when I was 10 years younger. When I was 18 and I went, how can I create an escapism so that no one has to ever feel sad and go through what I went through? And that's why I developed a persona, that's why I developed into pro wrestling, and that's why I turned my pain into pleasure. Now I couldn't imagine my life without it. It's led me to so many things. It's led me to stories, it's led me to talking in front of each and every one of you. It's led me to do radio, to do TV, to do acting, and it's led me to the point where I can say to each and every one of you here that it's okay. Whatever you guys are going through, whatever it may be, it gets better. And I'm a test for that. And I don't ever want to see anyone here right now in this building be sad, be mad, be upset. My goal now, through whatever media and so whatever stage that I can find a comfortable outlet to, is to make people feel better about their situation in whichever way possible that I can create. Through stand-up, through video, through wrestling, whatever it may be, I just want each and every person here to have a smile on their face and to forget what they're going through, and to share my journey and why all 4'9" of me started off in such a rough way, but made it work for who and what I am, is the best escapism I can create. And it's natural, and it's real. And the one thing that I want to pass on to each and every one of you as I wrap up my speech is, I'm starting to live by the motto, if I'm honest, I'll be okay. And I want you guys to understand that whatever you're going through, whether it's a conflict, whether it's a relationship, whether it's family, I'm so lucky now that, you know, my dad and mom are on the same page, and though they're not together, I have that, the best family concept that I can muster. But it took a long time, as I shared with you. If you're honest about each and every situation that you find yourself in, you'll never have to worry about anything again. If they leave, they leave. If they come back, they come back. But just make sure that whatever you do, be honest about it, because then You'll be alright. So with that, I leave you, and I thank you for allowing me to share your story, and I hope to see each and every one of you again. So thank you very much.
One more time.
Hey everybody, how are we going tonight? There we go. I love how vocal you guys are tonight. So for anyone who doesn't know me, I'll introduce myself. My name's Ross Thomas. I'm a team member here at So It's Your Story. But I'm not up here tonight to make my introduction alone. I'm here to make another introduction, and that is, here at So It's Your Story, we have a ever-expanding team. You know, more people get behind our cause, and they want to be a part of our cause. More people see what we do, and they want to get behind that and be a part of that just as we are. So I'm honored tonight to make the introduction to all of you to our newest team member. Rob, come to the stage. Everybody give him a round of applause.
Hey guys, what's up? Yo, hey. Hey, I'm Rob. Whatever, you know, it's not about me. It's about Sam, it's about Ross, it's about Daniel, it's about Sarah, it's about Jeremy, and it's about those stories. So, I just got involved at around January. My partner and I have been on stage. I've met heaps of people. About half the crowd is my friend now. It's amazing. And what really got me in was the vision of So What's Your Story? Sam said that he wants a global organization of raw, unadulterated storytelling, and that kind of vision is so attractive to come and be a part of. I've been watching and wanting to get started helping out, so that's why I'm here. It's not about me, it's about the storytellers. So without further ado, thank you all so much for your welcome as well. We're gonna go to the next story, and it's a video, and I think you guys will really like it. Get buckled down and presence yourselves. Thanks.
Reflections of Sandra. My mother was a truly remarkable woman, who even when the odds were stacked against her, won many battles in life. She struggled with various health issues all the way from her early 20s until the day she died at the age of 67. When she finally let go and found a deep sense of peace. She was a true inspiration to me. She showed me what it was like to be brave and have true courage and strength, even in the toughest of situations. She showed me there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. Sandra was the best type of parent and role model you could ever want as a child. At least she was in my eyes. She showed me how to live life despite all the challenges she had to face. She was a truly inspirational person. She faced every struggle head on and with true courage and conviction. She would not give up and always come through in the end. Sandra was amazingly fearless. If she had any fear, she certainly did not show it. Sandra was also my teacher. She taught me that everything in life is very much like one of my favourite quotes, which is, life is not measured by the breath we take, but by the moments that take our breath away. I could never have imagined how difficult my journey would become after my mother passed away. In the early days of losing her, I faced an uphill battle and questioned many times why I still existed, and found myself wondering what my purpose now was. I felt complete emptiness and an all-consuming despair that I never felt before. I honestly believed I was nothing without her. And so I refused to take part in life anymore. I could not or did not know how to be happy, even at the simplest of tasks, like watching TV. And in those fleeting moments where I found myself laughing, I made myself stop, since I felt I was being disrespectful to Mum. I barely slept, hardly ate at all, and was living minute to minute, second to second. because that's all I could manage to do. I got to the point in life where I felt like the best thing for everyone was for me to end my own life. You see, in my mind, that was the only solution. It would take the worry and burden away from my family and friends. I figured if I did not exist in the physical sense, then life would be easier for them, and then I could be reunited with my mother. I found that because of my profound grief and depression, not only did I change, but so did my relationship with people. No one knew how to deal with me anymore. I felt like to others, it was easier to pretend that I did not exist. As a result, I quite literally shut myself down, and I put an emotional wall up to protect myself from any further hurt. If I still existed, then it was easier to pretend I didn't. I could not see a way forward or a way out of what I was experiencing or feeling, and I guess on some level, I didn't want to feel okay either. It is difficult to imagine surviving such extreme grief, much less transcending this grief. I mean, how does one triumph over sorrow when you cannot imagine the pain ever going away? Let me tell you, it is possible. I survived, and while that grief initially broke me, I've since discovered the courage to come back and live life fully in a way that my mother would have wanted me to. Back then, I just didn't realise the strength that was in me all along, and I wasn't ready to feel okay. When you find the courage to confront your grief and whatever else is going on, only then you can opt to survive and transcend that pain. If you decide to do this, you'll have the ability to see that that loss had a specific purpose. You will have the opportunity to turn this crisis into a way of learning, evolving, and finding peace, both spiritually and emotionally. So now you have a choice. You can either withdraw from life like I did, or you can choose to learn and grow from the experience. You can choose to feel okay again. Ultimately, the only person who can make this choice is you. Through the heartbreak, the turmoil of losing my mum, I learned so much about myself and life in general. My hope for each of you reading my story is that you can find the hope and courage that is within you, and that through your pain you will come to realize your true purpose in life. Every dark moment hides an incredible lesson. Each and every one of us is an infinite and beautiful creature just waiting to remind what our unique gifts are. On November 23rd, 2016, I was diagnosed with MS, a condition that has no cure, and is like living with an invisible disease. You see, while I look normal on the outside, on the inside there's a lot going on underneath. After a second relapse of my MS back in late February and in being in hospital for 5 weeks, I was told I had breast cancer, but at this stage it is too small to treat, so it is a watch and wait situation. For a lot of people, this might turn their world upside down, but not for me. I'm of the mindset that these challenges are here to teach me something that is valuable. Life is precious, and I play a vital and important role to heal the world from grief and empower people to transcend their challenges and purpose. My hope is that you find the ability through my story to transcend your pain and grief. first time I've actually spoken about this in front of everyone outside my lawn, so you'll have to bear with me. My mum passed away of single-cell metastatic cancer. It was like Black Saturday through her body. So she had 2 tumours that were inside of her head, which were the secondary, that were actually growing outside of her head, and then she had a primary somewhere in her body. The thing that always amazes me is that we didn't know she was sick. She had no headaches, no pain, no nothing. The only thing we knew was the little lump that was on her head. And after 2 doctors said it was nothing, that's when she got diagnosed. The day that she went to the doctors, I had a sixth sense that that day my life was going to change. I just didn't know how it was going to change. I'm someone that's a bit of a control freak. I like to know what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen. And when we got the news that she had less than 12 months, but it was only 3 months, or in the end it was 2 weeks, I thought I could control it all and I'd be fine. Within 2 weeks, yep, no worries, I'll go back to work. It'll be easy, because I've been essentially grieving for my mother ever since I was 10, because she was sick all my life. So when, as you saw and as you heard, when she did die, it hit me like a freight train. I didn't see it coming. I didn't know how to deal with it. You know, there were times where I couldn't get through a single second of the day without crying, without being with my family, without being with my niece and nephew. And I didn't, as you said, I didn't want to, because I didn't know what to do. Even the simple task of going on medication to try and help with that, I felt ashamed of, because I felt like I disappointed her. Because I felt like I disappointed her because I couldn't save her from dying too. She'd saved me so many times that the one time that she needed me, I couldn't save her. So there was a lot going on for me when she died. And it wasn't until I really sat in it, and I wrote my book, which is available here tonight, Reflections of Sandra, that I really understood everything. I understood her, I understood myself, I understood our relationship, I understood why it was so profound. You know, basically it was so profound from even the moment that I was born, because I nearly died as a baby, and that's why she was so protective of me, and that just enhanced our relationship. And I realised that if it wasn't for the fact that I sat in my grief and I wrote about it, that I really learnt the lessons. And I really learnt the lessons of it's okay to grieve and be upset. I mean, I lost a lot of friends during the grieving process and my depression. I mean, I had friends break up with me, so to speak, via text message, because they didn't know how to deal with me, as I said. It was really quite an enlightening experience looking back now, because I weeded out, as I like to say, the weak and pathetic that didn't know how to deal with life. And the real people started to step forward, and it's the same with my MS and my own cancer. The real people are coming forward. The people that are meant to be in my life are coming forward now to support me in my own journey. And that's, you know, the ironic thing, I guess, that I wouldn't have learnt that lesson if she hadn't died. I wouldn't be here now if she hadn't died. I wouldn't have written the book if she hadn't died. So it's an interesting, you know, balance. As much as I would love to have her here, she can't be, because I can't live my purpose and do what I want to do, and that's continue to speak and share my story and make people less ashamed of being grief, less ashamed of being depressed, because that's a stigma in society, right? You know, it's 5 steps and you're all good. Well, that's not the case, and that's okay, and that's what I want to do, is help people be okay with that, be okay with dealing with whatever they're dealing with, and getting through that, and hopefully supporting them to find that light at the tunnel that I found. Because my life couldn't be more, as odd as it sounds, couldn't be more fulfilled, even though I'm going through what I'm going through, because I'm learning so much through this journey. I'm meeting people, I'm having opportunities like this. Sam doesn't know this, but the day that I was diagnosed with breast cancer was the day that I submitted the article to him. That's where we connected, was when I was in hospital with my second MS relapse. You know, there's there's a certain beauty in that. There's a balance, you know, while there's something bad going on, there's always a balance of something else that's going to come in that's going to balance that and make it okay. And that's what I always look for. Like I've had the unique opportunity, I guess, of everything that's going on, good or bad. I don't see it as a negative anymore. I can always go, okay, well, this is not great, but what am I meant to learn from this? And usually it's, for me, in a different way of, you know, writing another book or blog article, or I've written a blog article about my MS to empower women to be comfortable in their own skin and comfortable in, you know, what they're going with, whether it's weight issues or a health issue, you know, another sort of health issue. And that's what I'm meant to do. And, you know, it's just unfortunate that, you know, unfortunately Mum had to pass away for me to step forward, you know, take stage. But I know that she's living her purpose in heaven because her light was too bright for here. So that's my lesson for everyone here tonight, is to always look for that light, because no matter how bad you think it is, it's not, you know, there's always a beauty in there.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. After you get, you know you want it. That was the only story out of almost 300 stories I've heard in 2 years that made me cry once, let alone made me cry a lot of times. And I'm on the verge at the moment. It's just it's so beautiful and amazing. And to have you get up here and tell people how that you've now found your purpose and that it's to help people, I think that's the best thing ever. So thank you so much. And can we share our appreciation again, please? The first half is heavy. The second half a little less. This is now where we are going to give you the opportunity to have a drink and connect and go out to intermission and share your story. And there'll be more time dedicated after the show for that. However, we'll give you 20 minutes now to really process the first half and all of the amazing things that you've just bared witness to. And take a shot. Yes. Oh my God, that sounds amazing. And the second half will commence in 20 minutes. We have a countdown, and the team will be out there. And we will really try to make everyone feel comfortable and make everyone feel welcome, and really try to connect with everyone because we love you guys. We love you guys, and we want to know about you. And then the second half of the show, we have 3 stories. One being from Beowulf Jones from Los Angeles. So take the next 20 minutes to connect, and I'll see you back soon. Thank you, everyone. Let's get to it.
There's always more going on than what you think that you know. There's always things happening around you, and you can never act like, well, hey, I know everything, or you just keep yourself open to, all right, well, now through this experience, I know that all around me at any one given time, there are things happening. I know that for a fact.
Give quality content, and then give quality content, and then give quality content, and then ask people to come to our shows.
Yeah. And now that you know your avatar for So What's the Story and all of that sort of stuff, it definitely has a place. I just think you're overreaching for wanting to get it done in 6 months.
Mm-hmm. We can have an inside blog or like a series of small websites within the website. Yeah. Where we just deliver all the praise we need to give to our speakers, all the praise we need to give to our public. Chuck it in there. Yeah. But social media should just be like short, digestible messages. Say that again. Microphone. Look, straight in. Can you just
Just identify yourself again.
If we were to give people a great video on Snapchat, which is what Snapchat is for, if we were to give people what the content on Facebook, the content on Facebook that matches what people want on Facebook, the content on Twitter that matches what people want on Twitter, and provide them with quality content.
That's a good job.
But I'll also let you guys Swiss Life.
Just incorporate down here every single one of the participants that are part of what we do.
I wake up to this. This is the best thing to wake up to. He says, Sam, who am I kidding? I want to be a part of creating So What's Your Story's future. The more I think about it, the more it's calling my name. And so I ask you, my friend, can I be a part of the Swiss team? Which is incredible. Exactly the kind of guy we need. We just have to figure out what is best at.
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, that's what I like to hear. So how'd everyone enjoy the first part of the show tonight? Oh, come on, guys. Seriously? We've had so many vocal crowds today. Let's hear it. That's what I like to hear. So we have we have a massive second half planned for this show. But firstly, I'd like to introduce an individual that I met a number of months ago, someone who's been a very public advocate for So It's Your Story and believes in what we do and has shown every step of the way that we've taken, at least, that he does believe in what we do. And I don't want to spoil anything going into his story, but he's overcome a lot, and it takes a lot of bravery and courage for him to be here tonight and to tell his story in front of an audience. So everybody, please welcome up Daniel Bros.
Hey everyone, my name is Daniel, and Sam invited me up here tonight to speak a bit of my story. And I just want to take a moment though, and say hasn't it been amazing so far? Like, the courage that people show just to be vulnerable, just to share who they are, or just to say they've gone through, just to show that what they've done, just to see them as people and just realize that you're not alone. Like, that's why I love this environment. I want to make sure that you just thank yourselves, just take a moment. Thank yourselves for being here. It's Sunday night, and I don't know about you, but there's a lot of fun things I could do Sunday night, and also I could also just be dreading Monday morning. I mean, but you've chosen to invest your time, not to spend it, not to waste it, not to sell it, just to invest it in this. It's awesome. As I said, Sam invited me to share. So I'm first time on stage, so I'm probably going to be that and all kinds of funny stuff. Just bear with me. It's good. We'll get there. Sam invited me to share a bit of my story. And I believe every great story, it has a middle, has a beginning, and has an end. I don't know my end. It's still going. I love that. I freaking find it exciting. I don't know about you. It's awesome. You build it, you're writing your story as you go. I do know the beginning. Told you. I do know the beginning. And to set the stage a little, just so we know all on the same page, I'm not here hoping to make this an incredibly sad story, not an incredibly happy story. It might not even be that funny, but it is mine. And there is a question, a thought, something just to keep in the back of your mind, to answer for yourself perhaps, because no one can answer this for you. I'll be answering it myself and showing you a bit of how I figured it out, but just saying to keep in the back of your mind, maybe walk away with. And the question is, what image, what picture, what blueprint, whatever have you built in the back of your mind about who you are as a person, about what you're worth as a person, about what your skills, your likes, about what value people can possibly place on you, because that's the value you place on you. They say perception is reality. Yeah. I agree with it to a bit, and I do agree with it to a bit, because your perception, the lens that you view life with, love it, the lens that you view life with, that affects what you actually see. As I said, to go back to the beginning, like I said before, when I was young, and I'm talking grades 1 to 4, I got bullied quite a bit. And I'm not here to talk about that. I mean, I know everyone's had some exposure or some experience with someone they know that's gone through that. I'm not here to talk about that. I don't really have any strong emotions anymore about that. I do, however, find there's a fascinating question, a question that's worth asking. What did I carry away from that experience? What did I walk away with? What did I put in the back of my mind and believe in because of that? I said, perception is reality. My perception, it's actually the first time I ever really shared this, definitely from a stage, and my perception was that I was worthless, that I was useless, that I was unlovable, unfriendable, unworthy of even being in the same room as people, that everything that every other person had out there, every experience, everything you saw in that video, every single experience, I couldn't have that. I was me. I knew what me was. I was so firm in that image that there's nothing, nothing that you could do to convince me otherwise. People tried, it didn't matter. I heard a speaker, change a second. I heard a speaker a while back. He said this concept, he said this term that caught my attention. He was talking about his own life. He said he came up from a good upbringing, good family, good morals, all that stuff, good life. But when he started forging his own path, he realized something. He realized that he'd let himself be trained to be what he called, I love this, professional bad finder. He became so good at finding the bad, the difference, the negative about every other person. That was his default response. He had to train himself otherwise. I like to think that I was a professional bad finder, because I was so good. I had this magical ability that I could sit in a group of people and whatever you did, whatever reaction, you could smile at me, you could look away, you could look towards me, you could laugh, whatever it was, you looked away. You're saying, what the hell is this kid doing here? You look towards me, you're judging like, what the frick are you doing here? Like much more language, PG. What the hell are you doing here? You could smile, you could laugh, you're always mocking me, you're always judging me. Because I did that for you. For 17 years, I don't have a single memory, one single memory, where I actually sat in a group of people and let myself express myself. Let me even say a word, even say more than half a sentence before I just shut myself down. Not a single memory. I knew the words to say. I knew how to function. It's not that hard. School, whatever. But I never let myself. And let's just switch a bit to the end. So that was school. All that stuff. You've got to take that from it. But I like the next bit. The next bit's fun bit. The next bit's a bit that, just a little tiny step I took. The little tiny baby step I took. And that was, finishing school. Now, I think everyone here knows how, if I say the word free, everyone here would think about finishing school, like getting out of the system, out of the, I'm free, I'm independent, I'm mature, a grown adult. I was actually living at home. I was borrowing my dad's car. I had no money. I didn't know what to do. But at the time, it felt amazing. I felt free. I was in an amazingly good state. I'm saying this because that's how I went to the next experience. This is setting the stage. I chose to do TAFE after school, and I was going to South Bank TAFE. And it's still actually one of my favorite places in the world. I've traveled a lot, but I still love South Bank. Thank you. I can't go there and not be in a good mood. It's just too much life, too much green, too much of water. I just can't. So I was in a massively good state. I was probably the best day of my life. To consciously remember, I reckon that probably was the best day of my life. And so I get to TAFE, drive up the park, I'm walking up to the classroom, and it's a big, I don't know if you've been there, there's that big courtyard, like 50, 60 meters across, whatever. And I see the 6 people, 6 guys, my age, standing outside a door. And that door I know is my class, I know they're my classmates. And I'm like buzzing, I'm good, I'm happy. Start walking, 1 step, 2 step, very clear, I know exactly how many steps I took, 1 step, 2 step. And I could feel it coming, 3 step, and it's there. What are you doing there? What the fuck are you doing? What are you talking to people? What are you going to like? What are they going to think? They're all friends. They all know each other. What the hell are you even doing there? That's the shit I kept running around the back of my mind. But I was having a good day. I didn't want to have that shit. I reckon all I did then, not some big elaborate thing, just simply said, fuck you. Just said stop. I literally the actual word I used was actually just stop. And more than that, I was walking up, I stopped. So, I literally shook myself. I actually remember very clearly, I literally shook myself and said the word stop in my mind, very loudly. And then I took 1 step, like walking down, so I took 1 step, 2 step, looked up, and it's back. So I stop. I don't look like an idiot, so I do like a much smaller shake, but it's, stop. Looking down again, 1 step, 2 step, 3, it's back again. I didn't bother stopping this time, I just kept saying stop. All I did for the next, I don't know how many steps it was. It's a very clear memory, but I have no recollection of how many steps it was. Because I wasn't counting, all I was doing was going stop, 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 in my head, just stop, in my head 1,000 times. And well, 2 things happened. 1, I obviously walked the distance, like blink and you're there. And 2, I had no idea what to say. All I'd been thinking was the word stop. So, you know what happened next? It's amazing. It's like a one-in-a-lifetime thing. It's never happened before. I put my hand out. I said, hi, I'm Daniel. And looked down all the way like that. You know what they did? Hi, I'm Andrew. Hi, I'm Liam. Hi, 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 hi. And then we all stood around awkwardly not knowing what to say. And that was beautiful. I reckon I realized something much, much later on. You don't really learn things in the moment. I think it's much more hindsight's that fun thing. I don't know if I ever once considered that other people could be as awkward as me. I mean, logically maybe, but never in the back of my mind. I never once considered that someone else could be awkward, someone else could be uncomfortable, someone else could judge themselves, be worried about. I assumed instinctively on some level, those 6 people were all friends, were all best of friends, were all great friends, or could be great friends, were all popular, were all happy, were all da-da-da-da-da-da. I never once considered that they could be as awkward as I was. That they could be as unknown, as whatever, as out of place, as in a good mood, but had no idea what the hell to do. And that blew my mind when I figured that out later. Like, literally blew my mind, like, shit. And, long story sort of short, next 6 months, I didn't really do TAFE. I showed up in the morning to tick off the little check mark, and then I did away. I reckon I put 10 years worth of socializing in the 6 months and succeeded. It was good. And that was perfect. I love it. You got the drinking, you got the driving, you got all that stuff, and you also got me playing hooky and having sleepovers and having friends, being able to say that word honestly. I had one friend when I grew up, and that was just surface level, and that was the son of a pastor. Like, it wasn't ever anything real. And so 6 months went by, amazing experience. Every one of my friends dropped out of TAFE, didn't ever want to do anything again. Like, they had no intention of studying. I was like, yeah, I had a plan when I went there. I actually kind of want to go back to that plan. So I did the whole TAFE uni and all that jazz. And It wasn't like a switch had been flipped. To share an example, I caught up with someone I knew from that time not too long ago over coffee, and I was complimenting her on her growth. She was outgoing, she was adventurous, it was wonderful. And she reflected on me a little. It was interesting. And I love this bit. See, her impression of me at that time, I was quiet. I was reserved. I was fun, but I had to be drawn out a little. Like I was happy to talk. If you talked to me, I was happy to talk to you, but I rarely initiated. You know what I thought? One, she was crazy. Two, you know what I thought? I was Superman. I mean, quite literally, I felt like I was Superman, and I still think I am. I still think I was. Because I was exactly being Superman in that scenario. It doesn't matter what the outside world can judge. It doesn't matter what levels. There's no levels. There's your levels. And I was pushing my comfort zone like yeah, I was being Superman, man. As simple as that. That's the word that pops in my mind. And yeah, so life went on. And I said, it wasn't some switch to being full. I just gradually grew confidence, gradually grew steps, gradually got aware. And eventually I just attracted some amazing people in my life, and they just friggin' skyrocketed. But it took me 25 years. Okay. It took me 17 years to start that journey. Doesn't matter. Who cares? I learned the lessons I needed to learn. I had the growth I needed to grow. I'm connecting. I'm doing what I wanted to do, what I always wanted to do. And that really ties back to the question I said earlier. What concept, what idea, what is this image you have of yourself in the back of your mind? How long have you been carrying it? Where are you carrying it from? Why is it there? Who gave it to you? Maybe it's a comment someone said 20 years ago. They've forgotten what they said. You know that, right? You're not that important. They've moved on with their life, but you've carried it like some badge, and perhaps you never questioned in it. I never questioned how I felt so worthless. I never questioned why I felt like I had to justify my existence even to be around people. I never questioned that. I just accepted it. In fact, I looked for evidence to support it. I was very good at supporting it. I was an advocate of Dan is worthless, whatever you want to call it. I was there. And these days, there's actually, talk to people afterwards. There's some amazing people here. Some have done their own little personal journey like I have. We've found tools, techniques, environments, powerful ways to help combat issues. I didn't have any of that. All I had is a good day, a desire not to have it go away, in one single word. Stop. Thanks.
One more story to go. We've got it's quite a short story in comparison to the rest of the ones you've heard, and it takes a very wildly different kind of tone. Now, you saw a little bit of it beforehand to begin the show. It is from Beowulf Jones. It is not a live story, it is a story told via this big screen here that we are very thankful to have. Now, there's a backstory behind this, so let me quickly tell you what this backstory is. One of the driving forces behind me starting So What's Your Story in August 2015 was the fact that I actually knew what live storytelling was. How did I know? I knew what live storytelling was because I got into a storytelling company called Risk. It was an amazing podcast. It was when I was right into podcasting, right into self-help, right into all of this self-development stuff, and I felt like I felt personally that podcasts featuring true stories was a beautiful avenue of self-development for me. That wasn't in your face telling you to go read 5 books a day, or always stick to a meal plan, or check out Tony Robbins' new DVD. Good DVD, but true stories resonated with me a lot more, and the storytelling company that got me into true stories was Risk, and my favorite storyteller from that company was a man called Beowulf Jones. Now, there are two branches in the United States for Risk. They're touring all the way around, but there are two constants. One is in New York City. They attract hundreds of fans to their shows there every month. And one is in Los Angeles. A good man, Kevin Allison, runs the New York Risk show. And my storytelling idol, Beowulf Jones, runs the LA branch of Risk. And I thought to myself a couple of months ago, you know what? We're doing video stories on these shows now. What I'm going to try to do is actually reach out to Beowulf. It's probably not going to happen, but let's give it a shot. And I said, hey, Beowulf, how you going, buddy? Look, I told him the story. Like, this is, I'm a huge fan. And we actually here in Brisbane show stories on huge screens, which is kind of almost a worldwide first, definitely an Australian first in any storytelling company. And he was very intrigued by that. So I'm like, look, I figured it'd be a really good idea to get you to tell a video story just at your house or whatever. And maybe we could I love your stories, maybe we could broadcast it up here in Brisbane. And he said, you know what, mate, I'll do one better. When's your show? I said, it's on the 25th. And he said, easy. We have a show here in Los Angeles on the 17th, and I can get someone to film it. I can film it at the show there and send it over to you. I'm like, awesome, that sounds great. That sounds amazing. Their camera guy pulled out a day beforehand. So I was like, all right, I've heavily marketed the fact that this man is going to be performing at this very show. What do I do? And what I ended up doing is, okay, here's a mini story in itself. One of my good friends now, I met him late 2015 in the Valley for one night for 5 minutes of that night. We didn't even get along. His favorite thing in the world wasn't music like my favorite thing. And his favorite thing in the world was I can't remember what it was, but it just turned me off of him immediately. I'm like, but he ended up loving So What's Your Story and loving the idea in that brief conversation. And when he flew back to LA, because he was actually visiting from LA, when he flew back to LA, he actually donated $40 to So What's Your Story back in LA. So I'm like, wow. And I remembered that he lived in LA when the camera guy pulled out, and I'm like, hey, Arthur, maybe we can get you free entry to the Risk show? Maybe you can film it on your iPhone? Maybe we can set up an interview with Beowulf after the show so we can promote him? And he's like, done. I'm like, you are a saint and a scholar. And if I knew that this was going to happen and you'd be this supportive, hell, I would have spent 10 minutes talking to you at the Valley. So that happened, and I'm so excited to be sharing this because this is truly like a dream come true for me because it's my storytelling idol. And I'm going to play the clip. Ladies and gentlemen, give an imaginary applause to Beowulf Jones. Actually, scrap that. Give a real applause. He's listening. Give a real applause to Beowulf Jones.
Feelings and emotions tonight. Tonight is also a very special night for Risk because the story I'm about to tell is being taped by the most incredible, sophisticated iPhone that money can buy to be shown in Brisbane, Australia. So we are going to transport ourselves from Los Angeles and go to Australia for the next 10 or 12 minutes. Is that okay with everybody? Okay, so here we go. Let's have a huge round of applause as we go to So What's Your Story in Brisbane, Australia? So what's your story? And hello, Brisbane. I am Beowulf Jones. Thank you for having me in your Australian living room. And on behalf of the United States of America, I would just like to really, really apologize for Donald Trump. We are so sorry. We didn't think it was going to get this out of hand. We realize that this affects everyone on an international basis. We are working on it. Have patience with us. We will get this fixed. That out of the way. It is such an honor to be on So What's Your Story? Sam tells me that a story he heard on the Risk podcast that I told inspired him to start storytelling in his show. And if that's true, I'm wonderfully honored and humbled to hear that. And we now have the story for you in Brisbane. Here it goes. My greatest fear in life is having all the tools I need to compete and still not being able to compete. When I was 18 years old, I was fed up with the amount of sex that I was not having. So I came up with a solution. I would lose my virginity to a hooker. Now, I got the contact info for the hooker from my crystal meth friend, Crystal Meth Alex. He was, as you say, part of that world, like Ariel. And Crystal Meth Alex says this is a pager number. Call it, leave your own number, and someone will call you back. So I rushed home and I locked myself in my parents' office, which was the only room in the house with a caller ID box. And I called and I waited. And before too long, a call came back, and nervously I just snatched the phone up and I said, "Hello?" And I don't know what voice I was expecting to come out of the other end. I think in my stupid stereotypical brain, I had in mind like some 1940s Biloxi Blues madam spraying Chanel all through the parlor who would like pick up some two-piece antique phone and be like, "Hello." But the voice that came out of the other end was, "Hey, how are ya?" It was bright. It was chipper. It was the female version of me, which essentially is all I'm really looking for in the first place. So I said, "Hello?" And she goes, "Hey, how are you?" And then a third voice comes on the line. It's the voice of my elderly British father. Because you know how old parents can be sometimes? The phone has clearly been answered, but they're like, well, maybe they want me to weigh in on something, so I should just pick it up and see what's going on. So I heard, so it went, "Hello?" to, "Hey, how are ya?" to, "Hello?" And I said, "Oh, I've got it, Dad." And he goes, "All right. Yeah, okay." And I said, yeah, I'm fine, Dad. You can hang up." And he goes, "Ron, well, look, are you going to be around for supper? Because your mom's making roast beef and Yorkshire puddings, and we know how much you enjoy them." And I said, "Dad, I am figuring out if I am going to be around for supper right now. You can hang up." And he was like, "All right, I'll let you go then." So he hangs up, and me and "Hey, how are you, girl?" we make the plans to seal this deal. I am to go to the Baymont Hotel by Cleveland Hopkins Airport to meet the woman who will to meet the prostitute who will take my virginity. And you guys, to me, this was so romantic. It was so romantic because I was young. I was an idiot. I didn't know how things worked. Like, in my mind, I was like, well, yes, maybe she's in this line of work now, but once she meets me, sees the purity emanating from my heart, well, then she's gonna leave this line of work. We're gonna run off together, have a million babies, and get married. Like, legit in my head, that is the most likely result that I expected from this scenario. And my heart was soaring as I pulled into the Baymont in my tan Mazda Stick Shift 626. And I was singing along to my favorite romantic song at the time, which was "Angel Flying Too Close to the Ground" by Willie Nelson. But I wasn't even singing along to the Willie Nelson version. I was singing along to my band covering Willie Nelson's "Angel Flying Too Close to the Ground," blaring at me from the speakers. So here I am, singing at the top of my voice to me, singing back at me, when suddenly I see this police car slowly patrolling the parking lot. And I'm like, oh shit, is this a bust? Is this a bust? Am I being busted? So I park and I try to calm myself, and the glory of love eventually gives me the confidence I need to get out of my car, walk in front of the cop, and to go into the Baymont. And this is only relatable to a select few people, but to the people it is relatable to, I think it's very relatable. Have you ever walked in front of a cop while actively planning to commit a crime? Yes. Yeah, it fucks with you. I like walking, I'm like, just walk like a normal person, walk like a normal person. And in my head, I'm like, I am walking like a normal person. How does a normal person walk? This is how a normal person walks, I think. So I get into the lobby of the Baymont Hotel, and suddenly everyone's eyes seem to be looking my way. It was like a gust of wind from their collective wide-eye opening, like just blew into me, and I went reeling. And I went into this sort of William Faulkner sense memory overdrive, like every sight, every sound, every smell from all around me, like it was all coming to me at once. And I looked over, and to my right there was a well-dressed gentleman who was staring at me, and then he looked to someone out of my line of vision, and he goes, and then he just starts making a beeline for me. And I don't know who this guy is, but I want nothing to do with him. So I get in the elevator, and he follows me in the elevator. And I push the button for my floor. He doesn't push a button. When we get to my floor, the door opens, and it's immediately clear that this is not a hallway with like a floor with twists and turns. It's just one long corridor that goes straight back. And every door that I pass that he's not going into, my heart just starts beating faster and faster and faster, till finally I get to the very last door at the end of the hall, and he stops at the one next to it. And as I'm knocking on my door, I look to my right, and he's keying his, and he looks at me, and I don't know who this guy is, but he must have known that I was up to something shady. And I don't know who this guy is, but he seems shady as fuck to me. So he leaves, he goes into his room, and I'm now standing alone in the hallway outside of this door that no one is answering. And in my head, I'm like, something doesn't smell right. Should I just get out of here? Should I just cut my losses? And that's when the door opens and she was there, and I promptly forgot about everything. Now, I am not going to be crass. I am not going to tell you what this woman was wearing. But I will say, if you're an 18-year-old looking to lose your virginity to a hooker, you would not be disappointed. But then the next thing that I notice is she's old. She's old. She is so... I didn't even think they made people this old. Like, she had to have been, like, 22. Which was old to me at the time. Like, if 2017 Beowulf was to run into this person, I'd be like, oh my god, you're just a baby. What are you doing? You don't have to live this life. Come on, sit down with me. We'll figure this out together. But 18-year-old Beowulf was just like, oh my god, there is a maturity and sophistication to this woman that I will never be able to meet. And the third and final thing that I noticed, and this is what really squashed the romance for me. I'm not very good at describing makeup, but her makeup, it was very harsh and angular. Like, does that make sense? Like, Sandra Bernhard would see it and be, no, just pull it back. That's way too much. We don't need that. And something about the makeup, it just let me know, oh, there's nothing romantic about this to her at all. This is just a business transaction to her. And I got really scared, and I started giving myself a silent pep talk. I said, look, we are going into plan B. So you are not here to impress this person. You are not here to tell her your life story. You are here for one reason, and one reason only, and that is to take care of business. 3 seconds later, I'm in the room saying, well, ultimately what I'd like to do is direct. And she wasn't impressed. So the first thing she wanted was the money. So I gave her the money. It was 6 weeks worth of paychecks from Mammoth Video. The next thing she says is to take off my clothes and get on the bed. So I get naked, I take my clothes off, and I lay on the bed, face down. And she sort of straddles me on the back and starts massaging my back with lotion, and I just locked up, like, except for the occasional spasm, because I had never been touched before. I mean, I'd been hit, but I'd never been, like, sensually touched. And I was like, is this supposed to feel good? Does this feel good? What am I supposed to be feeling? I don't know what I'm supposed to be feeling. And And she was trying to make small talk with me this whole time, and I wasn't answering anything she said, which I'm sure must have set her at ease. So after the lotion portion of the evening was finished, I silently slipped off the bed and I went to my jeans and I pulled a condom out of the pocket, which I had very considerately brought along, not realizing she would have 30,000 of them over there on the dresser. And it was my first condom too, and I was struggling with it. Like, where do I tear this? And there was just something in her eyes at that moment that said, game over. And she goes, I can't do this. And I said, what do you mean you can't do this? You have to do this. I paid you to do this. We're going to do this. And she says, and I'm not sure if she was just fishing for an out or if she honestly believed this, but she goes, how do I know you're not a cop? And I said, cop? What is this, 21 Jump Street? I'm 18 years old, I'm stick thin, I don't even look old enough to drive, I am not a cop. And I can sense this is rapidly spiraling out of my control. So I asked what I felt was a reasonable question. Okay, if you don't want to do this anymore, do you perhaps have a friend you could recommend? And she says it again, how do I know you're not a cop? So totally frustrated at this point, I don't know what I was thinking, I pulled out my driver's license and I showed it to her, like, see? Like, I guess because everybody knows that cops are not allowed to have driver's licenses. Once they get the badge and the gun, they're like, we'll take that license from you. Thank you very much. And so she says, I can't do this. And I said, look, I paid you for the hour. It's only been 15 minutes. Are you telling me we're through? And she says, and I will never forget this, not unless you want to conversate. And I didn't. I did not want to conversate. What I did want was value for my money. So I stayed in the room with her for the entire hour. We didn't say a word. We just sat next to each other and watched Sally Jesse Raphael. And what little masculinity I had left at that moment was just obliterated, because I had the hotel room, I had the prostitute, I had the money, I had the penis, I had all the tools I needed to compete, and still I could not compete. And to this day, when I see my friends from Ohio, they still call me Beowulf can't get a hooker to fucking Jones. Thank you very much, Brisbane, Australia!
Another round of applause for Beowulf Jones, thank you. So, let's honest opinion. What do we think? I got great hearing, but I can't hear you. What do we think? That was awesome. Awesome. Yeah, that's cool. I love asking people after the shows because I want the honest truth. I want this to be the best it can be. I want this to be as human as it can be, and I want this to be as effective and impactful as it can be. And for the people who just saw this show, I hope we've achieved that tonight. For the people who were at this show and the Mental Misconceptions panel discussion, I hope we achieved that then too. And for the people, there are a couple of people who were at all 3 shows today who aren't the team. So I want to thank you for that, and I hope that we have been effective in delivering what we believe were milestone shows for us. If you wanted to find us, we are www.facebook.com, funny that, /SWYS Brisbane. Our strongest presence is on Facebook, but we are reaching out to, we're trying to get Meetup again, and we're going to get the ball rolling with other stuff in the coming months. But for everything relating to these upcoming shows, Facebook is the way to go for now. Our next show is late July. It is LGBT themed. We are going to be having stories from people who are gay, people who are lesbian. We are going to have a story from a transgendered man or woman. And we are going to have a story, actually, I don't know the last one, but but those are the three I'm really keen on. We're also, I'm not sure if we might have a chat, we're going to have a chat about it, but I'm not sure if we're going to have a separate show after that. I'd really like to have 2 shows in the month of July. I think I have the confidence, given the fact that we just did 3 shows in one day, that it's possible to have an LGBT-themed show in July, and also a broader show, much like the one you saw tonight. Who would be keen for that? I love it. Now, I'm not sure if that was Sarah walking out, but either way, I wanted to invite the rest of the So What's Your Story team up here. I'd like to invite Sarah, I'd like to invite Ross, I'd like to invite Daniel, I'd like to invite Jeremy, and I'd like to invite our newest So What's Your Story team member, Rob, to the stage. Oh, beautiful. 2, 3, 4, 5. And I want to have everyone individually dedicate just a short amount of time to giving you an insight as to where they stand, who they are, what they felt about tonight, and what we all want for you. After that, we'll go out and connect, have a couple of beers, and all will be well. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Daniel, Rob, Sarah, Ross, Jeremy. Let's go down the line.
What am I saying, again?
Just speak from the heart, my friend.
Oh, all right. Well, yeah, actually, he literally just told me this. Okay. Anyway, honestly, what we do here is because we're inspired by you people. We're inspired about that one story that you might have, or maybe a few couple. But that one story that just takes that essence of yourself. That one story that can impact more than one person in the same auditorium. You don't need to know the people in here. But it's just, you have that one story. When Sam spoke to me about that one story for the first time, I was like, man, I want in. This thing is awesome. And since then, it's been an amazing journey, and it's all about you guys, and I just want to thank you guys because you are amazing. Each and every one of you who are here tonight, and each and every one of the people who have been across the day, you guys are amazing, and we love you.
It's about truth. It's about big talk instead of small talk. It's about getting down to what being a human really is. It's about the concept of being alive, and through raw storytelling, you get to really get an insight into that. Yeah.
I first experienced So What's Your Story in December last year when I first moved back to Brisbane, and I knew immediately then, listening to the stories, that I had to become a part of this in the background, not just get up on stage. At that point, I didn't even ever want to get up on stage. And I remember approaching Sam going, I don't even know how I'm going to become a part of this, but I want to help somehow. And it feels good. I mean, I'm a teacher by nature as well as by profession, and being able to help these guys who are really young and inspired and energetic and have this vision to do this really cool stuff, and not just the people that they know who tell the stories, but for people like you guys who come to hear the stories. I was like, I want to help them with that. You know, I'm really happy to stay in the background when they talk about their success, because for me, So What's Your Story is Sam and Ross. Like, that's how I feel. I have nothing to, I don't want to be the face of it, because that's what it is. It's helping them do what they want to do and get their vision out, so that the likes of you can keep coming and having this alternative form of entertainment, if you will, which is raw, live, authentic storytelling, and that's the cool part. So, yeah, let's keep this going. Let's make this movement just keep moving forward. Yeah.
I have the unfortunate distinction of being Sam's brother, But fortunately, out of that, I managed to receive an invitation to the very first So It's Your Story show, and I know there are a number of individuals here tonight who also attended that same show. And to anybody? Where's Ryan? Did Ryan leave? Oh, okay. Well, Ryan. Yeah, everyone. There's Carrie. There you are. What are you doing back there, Carrie? Put your hand up. And I've been involved with it to varying severities over the course of that show to now. But even to see just in the last 6 months since we started to assemble this team, and from where we've gone from that point to now, putting together our first all-day show, which was a tremendous effort. You know, no matter what these guys say, it was tremendous effort on everyone's behalf for this show and all the shows today. So to see where it is now is incredible, and I just want to not only thank everybody here on stage with me now as part of the team for helping to put this together tonight, but also thank all of you. Because at the end of the day, we couldn't have made the leaps and the bounds that we did. We couldn't have had the progress that we have had in that aforementioned span of time without everybody here supporting us month in and month out. And some of you, like Sam touched on, show in and show out today. So thank you, everybody, for coming here tonight. Thanks.
And I'm just the old guy that enjoys hanging out with these young bloods and having a good time, so that's me.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are So What's Your Story team, but you are So What's Your Story. So to close out the night, before we go out and connect, I want one more big round of applause followed by a huge group selfie. So if we can clap and then everyone can get up and come to the front part here, we'll jump down. Actually, come on the stage. Get them on the stage. We'll get them on the stage and we'll take a selfie, right? So here we go. We're going to clap and then we're going to form a team.